Hello, hello, hello. This is Stuart at 3 Gear Studios, going live for another paint night. This time, instead of doing stuff with paints and brushes and stuff like that, we're going to be doing stuff with ground and dirt and glue, as we are going to do bases. I know this is Dire Troll. I still got to fix them up. It's going to be a future video. Just like my Slaad needs to be finished up. You've been there for the first part of that. We'll see what happens when I continue it, but today we're going to be dealing with what they're standing on. Starting off with this Dire Troll. With the base, usually I like to do more to the stand before we start doing this. But to get this out, this is still just kind of the pre-primed plastic base that he has. And instead of using plates like I normally do, I'm going to be using this paper towel to go and protect my tabletop. So starting off, any of these figures, you're going to have to glue it down. I'm going to use this mini tube of Gorilla Glue. We do have some other great glues inside of our store at 3 Gear Studios. But this is what we have open and here today. Let's open it up. Hope it's not clogged up. Always stinks when that happens. And just kind of lining the base. This particular glue of Gorilla Glue is a little bit more jelly than it normally is. There's most of the hobby glue tends to be rather watery stuff, so it goes on nice and thin. Because we're doing it on the base, it doesn't matter as much. So there it goes. And then fix that down. Okay. We're gonna let that dry for a moment because it does take time to dry. The appropriate glue for most of this stuff is to use, believe it or not, just any kind of white glue. So, as you can see, we're using Elmer's glue, this old bottle of school glue. So I'm going to squirt some out. Into this palette. Man, that nozzle is just not cooperating. There's always two ways to crack a nut. It's just not a whole lot of this stuff left. There we go. And that is probably way more than we need. But, you know, we'll work with it. And then, because of the run that we want with this, we're going to water it down some with, well, water. Just a little bit. And we're going to get a brush that is affectionately known as a trash brush or gonna throw it away brush. I'm gonna use this old watercolor brush. Mix up the glue with the water. That's just to get it to thin down. Now, I'm going to have this controversial statement of saying there's all these nice flocks and dirt, pre-done dirt and things like that that you can get to base your models. And I am going to put out the outrageous statement of you don't need none of that. There's dirt outside. Use that. So what we have here is a mix of dirt that we've collected from ye old outdoors. As you can see, there's some nice chunky rocks in here. There's some plant life that hasn't crumbled up, and a whole bunch of fine dirt here. One nice thing about the pre-done dirt, though, is that you get a little bit more control over your color instead of just saying, "Hey, that's some pretty looking dirt," and filling up a old Chinese food tin with that. I'm gonna take this dirt and I'm gonna paint the base of this model with our glue solution, very thin. See, the trick is dirt is not that strong. I'm gonna get a little bit deeper down there because I need it a little thicker than this. I didn't spend a whole lot of time mixing it, get between his toes, because dirt does go between his toes. Between his toes. Over here, over here. Turn him around. And I'm basically, because I pretty much want him to be standing on the same kind of stuff all the way around, I'm just going to cover his base all the way around. I think I probably put too much water in this mixture. I'm having to dig down to get the thick stuff. Either that or it's just bad mixing. Get all over the place. Look how lovely that is. Like while I was growing up, when we were first getting my start, we would pick up dirt from everywhere. School play used interesting stand. That's going into a little container. Sandbox, I still got that tub of sandbox material. Doesn't matter. If it was interesting out on vacation, saw some interesting dirt, that goes into a little jar. So we can bring it home. Then I'm going to just kind of shift this in, try to get the dirt all over his stand just like that, and then pick him up and tap, 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 tap. And you got some nice coverage. You're going to be like, that looks awfully nice. And you're right. Thank you very much for telling me that it looks awfully nice. But we're not done yet. But right now, we're going to put them aside and we're going to do the same treatment on our dire troll. As you can see, because of this, all this mess, that's going to be a little bit thicker that we're going to have to do. I'm going to have to be a little more cautious so that you don't see gray at the end. So I'm going to paint this on here. Now, if you do want a specific color of dirt, I definitely recommend going out and buying those pre-done things. If you just want some dirt on your base for you to do stuff, I know I'm going to have to go back over this because I know that I'm going to overpaint his feet when I go over this model again. If you just want a base that looks nice and you don't particularly care what color the dirt is, go for it. I have to say that my favorite bottle that I found of dirt is my university did a version of Urma long time back. And part of it was in the middle of the stage. They created this tub and filled it full of red sand. And to get the perfect red, they had to mix a couple of colors of sand together of colored sand to do it. But yeah, this was all just colored sands. Like when you go out to go to the beach, get a souvenir of like poured sand, colored sand. And when the play was done, I went into the theater, had a little medicine bottle of like some allergy meds or something like that. Empty of the medicine though, of course, because take your meds. And I just filled it up with this red dirt, and it was fantastic. I had a troop of Games Workshop Chaos Marines that it just works so perfectly for, because then they're running across dirt like this with these big streaks of red sand in there. Some of them were even like places like little footprints, so it looked like they could do it. So as you can see, we got a little bit of gray still showing. Um, so after it dries, I'm probably going to want to go over this again. Although, happy little accident, that kind of looks like he's walking on some marble. So some nice light colored stones, which is kind of nice. I might have to think if I want to actually keep that or not. Now, as you can see, some of the dirt got onto his loincloth, and so we just take a not trash brush and just kind of scrub that off. And I'm going to wipe off the excess on my pants because screw pants. Um, not all peoples actually wear pants. So there. So there you go. So yeah, nice, simple. We're going to take this up a notch. So I'm going to close up this. And let's go for some shrubbery. Because the knights, they want their shrubbery, or they will say annoying words to you like me. So I'm going to take the slot forward again so that the dire troll has time to paint. Always works better when you give a little bit of time between layers for things to dry. I'm probably not going to give enough time for things to dry between layers because, you guys are watching. And I get embarrassed just letting it sit there. We don't want dead airspace. So I got a little bit of. This is just railroad. This is stuff. This is the stuff that you can buy in order to make like train yard trees and things like that. Fantastic stuff. Gets a little bit dicey sometimes, but and what this does great is some shrubbery. So I'm gonna put some. I'm gonna dab my brush here. As you can see, because I didn't leave a whole lot of time for it to dry, it's kind of taking up the stuff beneath it. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of this shrubbery right here. Look at that. Look how pretty it is, just in front of his feet. And then I'm gonna go and dab a layer of that over top to just kind of, there's a lot of little wispy stuff that comes off of this. And so doing this extra layer not only helps tack it down more, but it keeps all this extra, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like this nice hair that's coming off right here. Kind of pins that down. So so right now, as you can see, it kind of looks kind of wet and damp and like something threw up on it, but it'll dry. You're gonna get another small batch and just stick it back there because where there's one shrub, there's many. I find that details like this are nice to kind of fill gaps on bases or to hide uneven terrain on bases. So I'm gonna just kind of stab that down. Now, when this is done, this also means that we'll be able to put some stuff over top of it. And Slaads, they are creatures of chaos. And so I got something a little special I can add to this. I just need an appropriately small batch of it. That looks nice. You'll see it at home in a moment. That looks kind of nice. Yeah. So, thanks to Xanadu nearby, we actually get some dried moss. So this is actual moss that I'm going to add to this base. I've used this stuff to some success with the base of dire, um, this dire shark to make this kind of corally stuff on his base. I'm trying to angle it so you guys can see it. And that turned out real well. So I'm going to add a little bit to the base of the Slaad. We love the people at Xanadu. They're so great. This might be a bit much. I want the whole thing. It's just kind of a, but yeah. So because I'm insistent that I want the whole thing, I'm going to kind of stab this through his legs. I usually like this to be the very last thing, and so this is a little bit out of order for me since I'm not considering myself totally done with the model. And I'm going to put this moss kind of in between his legs, just like that. Because as you can see, it kind of gets up there. It kind of, and out of everything that you can take back, this stuff is some of the most difficult stuff to take back. And as you can see, as I add Elmer's glue, the first layer of basing materials kind of coming up. Because, well, it's not totally dry yet. If you want best results, give it time. I'm impatient. Sorry. Kind of push things around. Everything's kind of malleable. I think I'm kind of using up my glue because I'm getting fancy with this stuff. Oh, but look at that. It's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, all over the base. Look at that. It's actually just looks like a lighter color shrub. Some light foliage. Okay. I'm going to add some more glue to this. And add some water, a little bit less than before, because like I said, I think I overwatered it the first time around. And I totally did not do the thing I said I was going to do. Let's get some of that off. Okay. It's just going to spill over. Uncontrolled mess. Spilling over everywhere. Can you guys even see this mixing? Yeah, this is my uncontrolled mess. It is just kind of spilling over everywhere. Okay, so let's go and stab down that. Dapple, dapple, dapple. Dapple, dapple. Okay, and then I'm going to take this little purple thing, and right here where it overlays, I'm going to get it right there, because that's where I want it to be. Somewhere where when people are looking at this guy from the front, they see it. My little purple shrubbery. Like I said, this is just colored freeze dry moss that we got from the Mars Art people next door. So there we go. Some nice colors. Hopefully when we finish this guy up that this will also add some to their palette. Um, I might even experiment with some top painting on there. So let's set them aside, let them dry some more because there's still some more funniness I'm going to do with this guy. Then we'll take this guy. Um, yeah, sure. Let's get some. Again, similar thing. Let some a few bushes. This trolls are a little bit more creatures of nature-ish. I swear they're more undead than undead. Like literally, there's stuff you can do where like their limbs will come off and start fighting next to them if you do enough of particular types of damage to them. Um, and they regenerate from those limbs. And they just don't die naturally. They really don't. Um, I'd say more, but you know, I don't feel like spoiling Sunless Citadel. I probably have in the past. Dap 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 dap. Um, and then let's stick this last. I got a couple pieces. Let's stick a little bit here, and I'm gonna top coat that because it just looks like what we're after is it just looks like random shrubs that are everywhere. Um, just to add little bits of green. Ugh, it's just dragging on me because I'm rushed. This is one of those things where it's like if you spread things out a little bit more, things like this won't happen where the ground cover that it was clinging to is coming up on my brush. But I'm rushing things as I do, and so results are not always the best. But you know, it probably will look just fine in the end. So, okay. So let's let that dry for a moment. We'll get back to the Dire Troll. Now we're here. Let's get just some clean water for the brush. And yes, I am pouring water out of my drinking glass because it is hot in here tonight as I'm pulling things. Get back there. Okay, so the colors down here are getting a little bit all over the place. Yeah, don't pretend that it's not true. It's totally the case. I'm gonna go try again to just pin down that flaw, the extra wispies on that moss. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and dab some light colors here. And what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna go and take this dark earth tone and just around the edges and particular spaces I say I want it. I am going to Put that down and pull out this stuff. I don't have a lot of this stuff. This is quite literally sandbox sand. County bought. I know. I stole it. Don't worry. I was a teenager when I sold it, so the people I stole it, the county seeded that sandbox about 20 years ago. Like I said, it was a pretty. We were like, that's a pretty white dirt color, and so I took it. So again, just kind of covering the base. You can pinch it and put it on there and that, and then just kind of tap it off. Take it off the side and blow it. Be careful where you blow, because if you blow into your mix, then that could cause a mess. Kind of darkened up. Let's get a little more in there. Get some of this in there. Get some of those white rocks in there. Because really what we want is we want it to look nice and light. And the problem is it's sand. So of course, parts of it turn to like this muddy color when you get it wet. Okay, so we'll set that aside. See how it goes. I think he has a lot. He has a lot going on in this base. Is long and short of it. There is a ton. But you got a little bit of greens, a little bit of purples, this white that look increasingly corally. And I really want that stuff. You stay down. I tell you. So yeah. I might address more of this later, but that's that. I'm gonna put away my sand because the dire troll, on the other hand, I kind of want him to be on a greener surface. I like the way that gray is popping up, like little bits of limestone underneath them. It's random enough that it doesn't look purposeful, or it looks natural. Particularly the way that it's kind of showing up in the cracks and crevices of things, because that's when limestone pokes out. That's how it goes. That's what it does. It bees what it does. Okay, I don't know if I'm using that right. So again, tapping the areas that I want it. I want this new color. So I'm going to put some down here. I'm going to take this. This is just railroad flock. This is actually a couple colors of railroad flock altogether, which is basically spray painted sand dust. Or, yeah, spray painted sawdust. So I got a little there. So you got a nice little patch there. I'm going to do a little bit more here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to get the stand color here and cover that. And right now for this guy, because it's how I kind of want it, it's just kind of on the edge. It's looking like patches of green. Because sometimes dirt be like that. So as you can see, that first layer of just pure dirt has done so much to get this. Yeah, some of the other dirt's still wet, so it's clinging on that too. And I think I'm going to stab here. And a little bit here. And then stick the whole thing inside of here to just cover it all. Now, just like painting, you can go back and forth. So if you're like, I need a little bit more dirt there, you go back and get a little bit more dirt here. This one particularly came together real fast, real nice. So the little shrubberies popped up there, making it look like little bits of growth. You got a general layer of green there coming up from a layer of dirt. And a happy little surprise was that still gray base still putting stuff there. That looks like an extra toe, but I know that it's a bit of base, so I'm going to just dab here. Just sprinkle some flock on there. So I mean, this just unlike the rest of this Dire Troll project, this base just came right together. Um, this one, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. I think I might have wanted to do the sand before putting that stuff on there. This base isn't cooperating as well. I find that moss, generally speaking, difficult to work with, but not impossible. So it looks like he's less climbing on mud shoals, and I want a little bit more of a distinguished thing between. I don't think that color's gonna do it. And those are big rocks. That's something else that you guys can't see because it's off camera. Um, when I go to finish up this guy, I'll probably do something. You know what I will do? I don't want this to look like mud right here. And it looks like wet sand because it is wet sand. So I'm just going to stab that there. I'm going to take our friend from the beginning of the episode and just get just a little bit of this rocky dirt there to just add some rock chunks and things like that. And just sprinkle that on. Ooh, a nice big leaf. I don't want the nice big leaf. That goes back in there. So, yeah, that makes it a little bit more chunkier and stuff like that. So, maybe it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine. Um, Step. Okay. Next time, hopefully, we'll finish up this guy. I might do a little bit more with painting the surface um, of his base just to get a little bit more stuff. You know what? I'm not sure if I like this lovely stuff. I'm gonna fiddle with this until the live stream is an hour. So, and for those who are watching this later, yes, this is a live stream. We are doing this live. I try to do it on Wednesdays. No, I don't know what time on Wednesdays. Thank you very much. But it's Wednesdays. So I'm gonna just, because the shrubbery material is similar to the my flock, I can just kind of stab in there and then stab down there. And look, it went where I didn't want it to go. So once again, get a nice fuzzy brush. Doesn't have to be a trash brush. In general, when you're working with a lot of this stuff, you want to make sure that the brushes you use, you're okay with throwing away. Oh, look, I just totally took that off. So this is getting into the back and forth, just like other parts of painting these models. Sometimes it's a negotiation. And so you have to do a little bit of a back and forth. Yeah, I like it with a little bit of green. I might, let's just, I know this stuff is still wet. So that might get a little bit more of the unity that I've been wanting. So I'm just pinching some and then just rubbing my fingers together just to get a sprinkling on there. And so you just get a little bit of dusting, like little bits of grass struggling to come up out of the dirt. So yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. I'll do that one little maintenance piece with the dirt, and then I will probably call it a day. And while I'd like to try to have these things to be an hour, this one just might be a little shorter than that. So let's stab that. Let's stab that. And there you go. Here's the base for the red Slaad. Here's the base for Dire Trolls, for the Dire Troll. There's little things I could do to both of them. One thing I'll do in the morning. I mean, do you want to wait for me in the morning? Yeah, I didn't think so. One thing that I'm gonna do in the morning is I am going to, um, I'm gonna go and paint the. I'm gonna go and do one more layer of just white glue on this, just to kind of seal everything in after it gets a chance to dry, and that way there's this nice plastic layer on top to just make sure that the base doesn't shed, flake, or otherwise become undone. Um, and again, same kind of glue just to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, like, share, subscribe, or whatever social media doohickeys you have to do to Three Gear Studios. Um, the and we would be and of course you can help support us on Patreon, because of course Three Gear Studios has a Patreon, or shop from our web store, or shop from us. It doesn't matter. We appreciate it all. Uh, so thank you for watching. Until next week, bye.